Hello, Charles.
Hello, Jason. How are you?
I'm well. Today will be another exercise in Kaizen. I think people who have been watching for a few days are aware that I've changed up substantially one of the aspects of our system. We're still, simulcasting on multiple alternate platforms. Telegram, Getter, Rumble, Odyssey. We've got Crowdsource the Truth 7. We've got Crowdsource the Truth 8. Huge thank you to all the people who sponsor the show on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Charles, today we're talking about the moron of Arabia. I'm talking about big dumb Joe Biden.
It's so pathetic.
He's really pathetic. He's on his way there to meet MBS. Did he take Anthony Blinken with him, Abe Blinken?
I think he might have.
Yeah, and they'll meet Abdul Aziz and all those guys. But there's just really no way Saudi Arabia wants to help Joe Biden. Don't they want to help Russia to keep the price high?
Well, I think that what they want is they want to have Russia and China and America all competing for Saudi Arabian favor. And what I would be doing, and that's the reason I'm not President of the United States, first of all, I wouldn't travel anywhere for any purpose unless I knew I was going to get something out of it.
Right.
I'm not going to go, in this case, Biden, he's a 181-year-old man. You saw he said the Parkland shooting occurred in 1918.
Oh, was that wrong?
A little bit.
The guy used a musket.
But he didn't even, attempt to correct it. He just talked up. But anyway, so I wouldn't go anywhere. And without, again, there being a really solid reason to go there. And in particular, would problems besetting the United States of America everywhere. I mean, he hasn't been to the southern border. There's a massive problem there. He sends a dimwit, Kamala,
did she even go?
She went to San Antonio, which she'll argue is near the border.
Oh my God.
And yet he's going to get on yet another trip. He was just, where was he? In Germany. Made a fool out of him, confirmed that he's a fool in Germany. Now he's doing it in Jerusalem. He didn't even make it out of the freaking airport.
Yeah, and he's like, what am I doing here?
Well, and he started hitting on a female service member. He started talking to her, and I don't know what he said precisely to her, but...
Did he sniff her?
I don't know, but then he started walking away from the crowd. He had to be brought back to the red carpet. And next off to Saudi Arabia, they think they can play with us. I mean, we are, unless Biden is allowed to continue. Oh yeah, Jill
this is where all the Hispanic voters will be.
Well, this is where
Joe Biden.
Jill Biden is going to be the celebrity spokesperson for Taco Bell.
Unbelievable. Such a stupid comment from her this morning. But wait a second, you were just saying something that caused me to realize the Israel, the Saudi thing.
Yeah, for him to go to Saudi Arabia and ask for anything. Saudi Arabian government is in power, the monarchy is in power only because the United States protects it. And to a lesser extent, the UK and
funds
France.
it as well from the petrodollar, all the money we've shoved in there over the last 70 years. Right. It was a tent empire when oil was discovered there, wasn't it?
And when we look at it, I mean, I have been there, unfortunately, a few times, and it's not, I don't know, last time I was there was over 20 years ago. But it's not a place I intend to go back to for any reason. And
this is what I wanted to say. Just even last night, Fox, which I know you still enjoy, was complaining that he's going to visit Saudi Arabia and that they murdered American journalist Jamal Khashoggi. It's a fundamental misrepresentation of what that guy was and why he was exterminated. He was a jihadi, he was a deep state operative, he was in league with Al-Walid bin Talal, he was a member of the Mujahideen in the 1980s, he's photographed holding a shoulder-mounted missile that Joe Biden's role in Senate probably played a part in him getting access to, and I want to find out if those missiles had anything to do with TWA-800. But Jamal Khashoggi, he wants to make him a pariah over that.
Right. Well, just thinking through the founders anticipated that Americans would have their hands full just settling the existing 13 colonies at the time the Constitution was came together, and They weren't particularly wild about America getting involved in what I think it was Washington called entangling
Foreign
alliance.
entanglements, right.
Foreign entanglements.
Certainly not imperialism.
Right. And so, and our first, beyond wrapping up the Revolutionary War, our first major foreign problem involved Islamic terrorists.
What was it?
It was the Barbary pirates. It was the people expected the various leaders of the, I don't think they were countries yet, they were potentates. The leaders of each little city-state or area demanded tribute. If you wanted to sail through the waters, you had to pay them off. And if you didn't pay them off, they'd take people and enslave them. And the word came to, I forget who, which president, whether it was Jefferson maybe, that this person was demanding tribute, and if we didn't pay it, they were going to do all sorts of bad things. And we basically said F you and
Blow them up.
And pretty much, yeah.
Barbary pirates take you hostage and cut your hair.
That's from the shores of Tripoli, that song. That's the Marines basically were born.
Yes, right, and they wore the leather neck thing to prevent them from getting their throats cut. Yeah, I have heard about that.
A head diet, they call it.
Right.
I'm making that up. But anyway.
But that's where Marines get the nickname Leatherneck.
Right. But if I were President of the United States, again, I harbor no ambition to be President of the United States, I would be thinking through what's in the best interest of our people, and then I'd be thinking through which countries have helped us and which countries can we help. And after I got done curing as many of the problems that afflicted us at home, I might be willing to go abroad, but more likely I'd have a state dinner. And unlike the state dinner that Barack Obama's first state dinner, if you remember, with the Salahis.
Right, getting in there unauthorized.
And getting their pictures taken with Joe Biden.
He's such a dope.
And sitting around, I've had some experience, not a lot, but some experience talking to people who interact at that level, and they kind of joke about how easy it is. Remember, before the Trump election, there was a rumor that I think it was Saudi or maybe Emirati, had said that they were going to spend $120 million to make sure that I think Hillary got elected. And somebody said, "Now, wait a minute, how'd you do that?" And if you think about the mentality of some of these people, MBS's older brother, who died in 2001, I think.
They just think they can buy anything.
Well, they really do spend an enormous amount of money per year on their horse operations. Typically, they involve, they're all big racers, thoroughbred racers, and
I'm thinking of Maktoum with the.
That's Maktoum and MBS's elder brother Fod and others. They all had studs down in Kentucky and studs in horse farms in England and big setups in London and
Spanish riding school.
And they're buying let's keep going down to what,
whatever
second?
You want to do.
I don't know. Maybe we'll go down that way in the shade.
Chrysler building looks nice today.
I'm just thinking.
But anyway, they have a lot of horses there.
So that if they're spending $100 million a year for 25 years racing one horse against another horse, I mean, for them, $25 million to get a president of the United States either elected or defeated, it's nothing. And the benefits they get out of that are substantial. So I would certainly not be going all the way out on this trip, knowing that Vladimir Putin is spending, or his people are spending as much time as possible trying to concoct ways to accentuate the way in which Joe Biden proves that he's not smart enough to be a moron. Right? So they have traps laid for the guy. He's going out to Saudi Arabia. He's going to ask for something. The Russians will figure out what he's going to be asking for, and then the Russians will play their part. They'll say, okay, we really don't want you to give America what they just asked for. And
it was only a little while ago that Saudi Arabia was trying to convince Russia to limit production or increase production to do something to the price of oil. Why would they want to go against somebody that they're trying to be in cahoots with?
Well, as I say, I think in the Middle East, to simplify it, they're expert at trading one group off another group.
Right, both sides against the middle.
That's something they've been doing for millennia. So, I mean, the team, from the Caddyshack, I'll put my best man on it. I mean, the team that's out there laying the groundwork for his imperial stupidness to show up across the Middle East, has already, as my kids said when they were young, they've already had their pants taken down, and that's called being pantsed. They've already been pantsed.
Yes.
You know, this is not going to go well. The protocols are all going to be horrible. It probably
it's already not going well.
It probably won't be as bad as, you probably weren't focused on the Carter administration, but when Jimmy Carter had some kind of thing involving, I forget if it was Anwar Sadat or it was a leader of Egypt in the White House, there was some kind of state dinner, and a famous, I think it was football player, was seated at a table with Sandra Day, couldn't have been Sandra Day O'Connor, it was somebody like that, and I think the leader, the first lady, I think, of Egypt, and he started making comments about the size of the lady's breasts. And
what?
He got shit-faced. And I mean, it
my
probably
God.
won't be that bad, one hopes.
But this does have the potential to be one of the biggest diplomatic embarrassments in the history of diplomacy.
I mean, honestly, if this guy were to get a Nobel Prize, perish the thought.
For stupid.
Stupider presidents have already gotten it. And vice presidents.
Should we go into this scary tunnel?
This is the tunnel of Biden. This is
like...
Biden's remodeled his mansion, and this is what it looks like. Did I do a good job?
I think we're going to have hidden turds and homeless people in here.
Well, they'll be on camera. Smile if you're on candid camera.
It's actually easier to see on the phone than it is right out of my eyes. It's brighter on here.
Yeah, this should not be allowed.
It's too dark.
Well, yeah, and it's too easy to be lying in wait for somebody. You do have the mirror there, though, that lets you.
That does
see
not going to help
nothing.
you, really.
I
Because there's also
smell.
no way to exit.
And then you got the pungent bags of garbage here greeting you.
Yeah, really bad.
So, yeah, this trip, I mean, not only is it a very bad idea, but it's, I think, several weeks away from another trip. He's going out to Indonesia for the G20.
Huh. Lavrov made a comment the other day that the United States has basically ruined the G20 by, putting all this pressure on everybody or something like that. I didn't quite see it.
I think Lavrov is a remarkably professional individual who should be listened to. I mean,
I agree.
He has a lot of experience. I'm not saying that because he's Russian. I'm just saying he's been around operating at a high level.
He speaks English very well, and when you meet somebody who does that, where it's a second language, it is a sign of a high degree of intelligence and attention to detail.
Right. Well, Joe speaks pig Latin.
Barely.
Look at all this garbage. It's 85, 87 degrees. You're going to leave these bags of garbage out here?
I don't know if you and I have had much of a chance to talk about these wonderful videos of Hunter Biden weighing crack, because
it's a skill. He's a scientist.
Well, I was going to say, smoking crack is arguably a poor choice. Same thing with hiring hookers. But videotaping yourself doing it, that's the smartest guy Joe Biden knows.
Well, what about that? I don't know if it's a video, but I saw a still photograph of Hunter on a couch in his underwear with his bottom portion covered, lying on his back, with these little girls with sort of garlands of flowers in their hair. These are girls that are...
I didn't see that.
Prepubescent girls, dressed. But a number of them have their feet, bare feet, on his body. They're all, like, I'm sitting on the couch above the level of the seat. The seat's back like this, they're up here. And they're like, I forget if there are 4 or 5 or 6 of them. And, you just, with his warning signs, I mean, the many problems this guy has had over a long period of time, who are the
whose kids are
parents?
they?
Yeah, exactly. Who are the parents of these girls? And how the hell could they have allowed these girls to wear the same kind of garland? The effort went into that. It was not something that was a store-bought thing. Somebody went out and said, let's dress these girls up and turn this into something fun and
what was it even supposed to be?
Look at this garbage.
Here's a location closed. I know.
Can't compete with the free garbage. Dwayne Reed, free garbage. Free boxes.
Now, the other thing that we need to establish, Charles, because I'll get in trouble for this, no one coerced you into making this a walk, right? In fact, I even suggested we might be inside.
No, it's fine. The humidity is low, actually.
And somebody did suggest the possibility of perhaps not a blazer today, right? I don't know who that was.
Obviously, somebody
was
with
rejected.
No fashion sense.
Because people email me and they're like, don't make Charles do this and that. And it's like, people think I have some kind of influence over you, which is totally incorrect.
Very few people have such influence.
Right.
So I'm not belittling.
I'm not
Right.
presuming that I have any influence whatsoever. I can make suggestions, making you do anything.
No. I'm fine with this. I've actually been out for quite a while today before we even started. You only get so many nice summer days, and
Exactly.
low humidity. And I got a fair amount of stuff done already.
High garbage,
Look at this.
ambient garbage. It's
And-
really,
I mean, what's Dr. Fauci's view on picking through garbage on a nice 88-degree day? Now, how
Well,
smart is that?
what do you think about their saying that monkeypox is increasing and everything? And then I saw an article saying that it was orthopox that they were testing people for, but that it was probably monkeypox. And I'm like, oh, here we go again with these probably doctors.
Well, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice, but the way I have understood the process to work is that each individual, believe it or not, is different. And it's very important, particularly as you age, to have a relationship with your personal physician who knows your particular foibles and issues and whatever. And to start at some garden gnome taking kickbacks, which I think we can characterize the relationship Fauci and his family have from Big Pharma for 60 years, some garden gnome telling us that we have to do something. In the case of this is a nice, probably Fauci's
Whoa.
last patient. Let's walk by this. In case
There's a lot of liquid flowing from there.
smoking, of course. Brilliant. So this garden gnome who was insisting that the entire American population follow his commands. You didn't hear, if you tried to say, my body, my choice.
He's like, nah, line up over here on 8th Avenue at the mental hygiene place and get injected with the monkeypox vax.
Right, and so I didn't like that at all. But beyond that, when they tried this idea that they would photograph prominent people being vaccinated in theory, but you had no
idea what's in the needle.
Right. And then doing all these public service announcements, which, by the way, various governments paid the media to air, and so the media is all in for getting paid.
Right.
They say, if you take the vaccine, you will be protected, and then now that's not absolutely.
They just
not
say, ha ha ha, no, don't worry about that. We're
When
going
I-
to change the definition.
Yeah, when I said vaccine, I meant something we don't have. So obviously, if you took what we gave you, you're going to get sick.
It's just so wonderful to look back on something like that interview with Alan Dershowitz that
Oh,
so many
boy.
scumbags have endeavored to remove from the internet. And when I read to him the definition of a vaccine from the CDC webpage, he said, I don't believe that.
Yeah, he's really past his prime.
He's just an evil, lying
Well,
piece of crap.
When you go back into the period when this country was formed, you need to understand that prior to, I think, 1700 or thereabouts, after 1700, the King of England had less say over what got published and didn't get published. But I think certainly up through 1600, you didn't have a real free press in
Right.
England. And it was only during the Revolutionary period and afterwards that they had these various pamphlets, many airing opinions by authors who refused to identify themselves for fear of being punished. It was in that period that you had this robust debate that led to revolutionary thinking, that led to actual revolutions, some would say for the better. Others, particularly those who are getting
Died.
paid $1 million a year. The Stanford law professor who's working in the Justice Department was being paid $1 million a year
Who?
while still working in the Justice Department. She's been forced to leave.
Wow.
But people like that who make their money saying how awful America is and how it's a disaster, and want us to have a society where there's only one view, and it's their view, and if you differ with their view, you get canceled.
Is that Chuck Schumer? No. The guy looked like Chuck Schumer, didn't he?
And
He was about to get yelled at.
Yeah. How many people in New York City might look like Chuck Schumer? Would you guess, Jason?
I don't know.
A lot.
Yeah, people are getting ranted in the comments.
About what?
I don't know, some idiot said, did Jason rant anybody yet? Because there's a certain type of person who enjoys riling me up to try to increase the danger that you and I face here on the streets of New York City. There are malicious actors out there in the world who want to bring harm to us.
They're based typically there.
Bellevue Hospital Center, well, that would be a good place to put them.
Yeah. Actually, the old Bellevue, which is
right.
The old Bellevue there?
No, I think they got a home for homeless men in there, in this thing that used to be the mental hospital. It's the perfect place for some of the people I'm thinking of.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll see how much damage. I mean, it's in my experience, and I've never traveled the way Biden's traveling, but no matter if you
Out of your mind?
Well, when you fly even first class or Concorde, or when it was flying, go to the Middle East, your body says, listen, dude, you're nearly 80 years old, and you need some rest here, and you're discombobulated.
Doesn't he have a whole bedroom on Air Force One?
Doesn't help.
I feel like I could live on that plane and fly all over the place.
It just doesn't help when you get that kind of time zone difference at the Saudi Arabia. You just get, he's discombobulated when he's adjusted to time.
Yes.
He's going to wake up in the middle of the night or fall asleep in meetings. It's freaking hot in the Middle East right now. Bad as
that
it is
I
here.
know.
So Tucker actually, time to time, I would not say he ever really pulls his punches, but there are times when he really takes out the mitts and puts spikes on them.
Pulled his punches on Vegas.
But he's not pulling his punches on Jill Biden or on AOC and the Green Deal. And
what did he say about that?
Oh my God! I mean, he is going all up into the Biden family face for first for Jill's absurd comments, mispronouncing Spanish multiple different times.
Oh yeah, she can't even say bodega.
Bogota or something like that. And then
even if you didn't know that word before this incident, and there now have been a lot of letters to the editor and stuff saying, let this guy out of jail. Yeah. We'll see if they will.
Right.
But Hunter was going nuts on Jill.
No, Tucker.
Tucker
was going nuts on that, and then he had a really artful turn saying, nice.
That's just like the garbage holding pen.
Right there. That's where they puree the garbage. It's right next to where they get the meat for these sandwiches.
And burning all this fuel in the middle of the street. They should not allow these. Just have electricity here and let them plug in.
This is where they're
burning these generators all day, spewing.
It's good afternoon, sir. $1.50?
I can, but I'm not going to.
He's got a very specific denomination that he wants. Why $1.50? Can you ask him to break that down for you?
Inflation.
Can I get an itemized invoice on the $1.50?
Yeah, amazing.
So I think it's really only about an 80-cent transaction. How do we make up this 70-cent shortfall?
Like, can I have a receipt? If so, I'll give
People get annoyed when we do this, Charles. Right. We walk around. I mean, these are mostly idiots I see on comments that are designed to antagonize me, so they might not even be real. But it's amazing the level of social engineering that continues to go on, and it's happening at the highest level with the January 6th committee, and they just keep bringing out more nonsense, piling on the garbage.
Well, on January 6th,
that's not a bicycle. That shouldn't be in the bicycle lane.
Yeah. On January 6th, the construction of the committee violates House rules, and so therefore it shouldn't be something that's funded by the taxpayers or something that has subpoena power. But beyond that, this revelation brought on by Bannon that the way they're doing it is they would call you in.
Another motorcycle. So Bannon's doing what? Sorry.
What they do is they say, all right, Jason, you got to come to D.C. You go into a room, they have you answer questions, maybe under oath for a couple hours or longer, and then they take your answers out of context and they allow the video to be made, which is
from the deposition, exactly.
Right, where the questioner knows your answer before they tape the questioner asking the question. So they, of course, can make you look really stupid. And
this is exactly what we have due process to avoid.
Right. And then we have, I love that pompous, excuse my language, it's a technical term, fuckwad, Raskin, you know, the congressman from wherever he is, Maryland or something. He gets up there and he says, Tucker had this, I think, on his show, either Tucker or Waters, never before in the history of America has a responsible American politician challenged the results of an election after they were certified. And they cut to Raskin doing just that in 2016 and 17.
Oh.
You know, he is one of these guys who's just, he understands that a large number of people.
This is unusual, isn't it?
I haven't seen it like this before,
but they're not plugged into the. Something's wrong.
Not working, maybe. They're unemployed city bikes.
Wow.
But
he's showing Raskin with all of this contradictory stuff on Tucker.
Yeah, and so Tucker is slamming the January 6th Commission, slamming yesterday with Sandy Cortez, who really should shut up. I mean, maybe she's a mean bartender in a good sense. You know,
Sandy who?
Alex, AOC.
Oh.
He calls her Sandy Cortez, which is what she used to call herself before she decided to be a revolutionary.
Sandy from Alexandra?
Yeah. So she apparently there are more than just the example of Sri Lanka, that a number of these moron sustainable green freaks have gone to different countries and convinced them to go down the path of a mini Green New Deal. And
mini
one of those
AOC.
Well, not necessarily AOC doing it, but the people around AOC who sell this garbage. So they convinced the government of Ghana. Now, Ghana is a country I went to in 1976, actually.
Well, look at everybody waiting outside the hospital. Should we go ask them if they're waiting for monkeypox?
They might have monkeypox.
I don't think so.
So in Ghana, which was doing very well, it had energy, the economy was strong, has gold and other things. They switched to this, non-nitrogen-based fertilizer. And,
and
now it's
a
disaster. The country's a disaster. Same thing happened in Sri Lanka. Same thing is happening in Argentina. Ukraine is talking about, Zelensky will say anything to get more money.
Yeah, that's true.
And recently the Democrats have proposed that the IMF create $650 billion out of thin air by issuing special drawing rights, which are basically kind of fiat, equivalent to fiat currency, and taking those proceeds and giving them to Ukraine.
Ridiculous. They should make Hunter the chief of the IMF.
Right. Well, so Tucker on Hunter said, I really have to, it pains me to say this, but I agree with Hunter, and then talked about Hunter's comments about Jill, where he refers to his stepmother as a moron, right?
Pretty bad, worse than that.
And then uses the C word to describe your stepmother, and on top of that, and basically slamming his girlfriend at the time, who was his brother's widow.
Just such a messed up guy in every way.
And then Tucker put up pictures of video of Biden at something kissing his granddaughter on the lips. His granddaughter being, in her probably 12 to 14 years old.
These people are honking to rush and run us over.
It's just, there's so many things wrong with this family. And then actually you're starting to see even Democrats, I should say, especially Democrats now saying, wait, they're pulling the ripcord. So there's a New York Times writer called...
It's nothing but that now.
Well, there's this New York Times writer called Michelle Goldberg, who's a really nasty piece of work. She was all into Trump's grill, and she's just got a nasty personality. She got something published in the New York Times saying Joe Biden is too old to run for president again.
Right.
So she's an oldist, an ageist. But you
They're
weren't supposed
thinking
to
he's
do
too
that.
old to even finish the presidency.
And then I love that is, Alfred E. Newman, Pete Buttigieg, is issued some new decree that all pilots cannot fly in America if they're 66 years of age or older. But Joe Biden can run for president of the United States.
Did he say that they couldn't fly, or he's encouraging them to retire or something?
Basically, moving towards banning them from being able to fly. Commercial
That's crazy.
pilots. But it's okay for Biden to be the leader of the free world, or aspire to be. Now at age 79, he would, if he won re-election, he'd be 81, 82. I mean, this is the biggest collect. You have the Doris Kearns Goodwin, the plagiarist historian from Harvard, coined the term "team of rivals" for the, I think, a Lincoln cabinet. This is the team of aspiring morons.
Yeah.
They're not qualified
They got
to
a
be
way to
deemed
go.
morons. But they've gotten together, and one idea is stupider than the next, more dangerous than the next of what these people try.
I agree with you, Charles. It's really bad.
They had, I don't know who these people are. Every campaign cycle you get people who allow their names to go into newspaper ads, sometimes radio and TV ads. I'm a rich person and I want to pay more taxes. We
Who
need to
says
raise
that?
taxes on the rich, these idiots. So they had such a guy write an op-ed that I think was published in Politico, or maybe The Hill, which is saying that the only way to cure wealth inequality is to put in a tax on an annual wealth tax. That you shouldn't be allowed, you should be able to pay taxes on capital gains only when you realize them. Every year you should have to pay a tax on any increase in your wealth, whether or not you sell the underlying asset. And this guy went on to say, I'm in the financial business. Yeah, you're one of the dumbest fucking people on earth. You could write this trash. It makes no sense. It absolutely makes no sense. Wet paint.
Have you ever seen such a thing before?
What's an active lawn?
That's what I'm saying. Let's investigate.
Well, are you a pet?
It says no pets,
Okay.
but this is a passive lawn. I get it. It's not really doing much of anything.
Is it a passive-aggressive lawn?
No, we'll find out in a minute. It's like, fine, you go walk around.
What's the difference?
I don't really care.
It's not watered. Look at how dry it is.
Maybe that's the passive aggressive. It's like, well, Charles, somebody could water it. This is the strangest little park.
The land is probably worth, I don't know,
Crush
a number
it.
of millions of dollars.
We could put some nuclear plant right there.
Right. Well, that was a good experience. I'll have to do this once a week. Come to
Donald
passive
Trump
lawn.
is heating up his war against Elon Musk, and it's a meme battle.
Is that right?
Well, I don't know, but you were in the middle of telling us more about
Yeah, I mean,
Biden's.
it's one stupid idea after the next. I mean, the good news is it's July 13th, and we know that Biden has a major problem to deal with on July 18th, and that is there's a threatened nationwide rail strike, which would affect further
Oh my God, yeah.
the botched deliveries of items. And so that's set to happen on July 18th unless somehow the government weighs in and does whatever it may be able to do to stop it.
What's it going to do?
Well, it would bring all rail traffic to a halt, commercial rail traffic to a halt.
No, I mean, what's the government going to do?
Government has different powers. I'm not sure on the details, but they can step in and say, no, we require mediation, or we require this, or require that. But as of this moment, it looks like things aren't going well. So we have Pete Buttigieg knucklehead out there chasing racist roads. He's got his solution to having ports clogged is to send all the ships further offshore
To the
so
water,
you
yeah.
can't see them. We've got the rail strike. We've got nobody can afford gasoline.
Well, they said the price is coming down a little bit.
Well, it's still very-
$4.85 instead of $5.
Again, coming down to a level that's still way above what it
Yeah,
was.
doesn't help.
In 2020 does not strengthen your argument for being on Mount Rushmore. I mean, you should be on Mount Dumbmore.
Is this something historic?
I don't know. Looks like it. We were over here, I think, when it was cool, temperature-wise.
Yeah. We've been coming over here since before it was cool, Charles. That's how.
We made it.
That's
cool.
how on.
So there's a limited ability, with all the goodwill in the world, which there isn't goodwill right now, to get transformative legislation across the line that would bring the budget into balance, that would help us pay down our debt, that would reassure foreign investors that we were not economically insane. And there's a limited pathway as well to deal with the carnage that is facing us in Europe. I mean, we're in a place where the United States is raising interest rates to a fraction of inflation. So inflation, in theory, I don't know, 9.1% is what it came out this morning. I don't think the real rate of inflation is as low as 9.1%. I think it's higher, but let's use 9.1. The 10-year Treasury rate is around 3. So you raise it to 4. You still have a problem.
But what does that mean? Treasury is debt issued by the government?
Well, the 10-year Treasury rate, there's a lot of that debt, and it's thought to be what's called, quote, risk-free for a dollar investor. In other words,
nothing is risk-free.
Well, no, it is relatively low risk in the sense that you buy a 10-year note, you're pretty highly certain to get your principal back in 10 years and to get your interest payments contractually owed to you paid on time. So the way investors think about this stuff is they say, all right, when I try to evaluate taking a risk, going further out on the risk profile to equities, how much extra return should I get? And it's extra measured against this 3%. So 3%, mind you, you're not getting a real rate of return. Inflation's at 9%.
You're losing money.
You're losing money, exactly, particularly on your principal in 10 years.
So who would do that? Nobody.
Well, if you don't have an alternative, right? I mean, if your alternative is just putting in a checking account.
I guess you're losing less money.
Right, so exactly. So we're not in a healthy place. And mind you, during the Reagan Revolution, the Reagan years, the real rates of interest were very high. So in the period where the stock market boomed under Reagan and afterwards, interest rates declined, but they were always higher than inflation. It wasn't until Dumbo went into the White House, January 2009, that we had interest rates.
Is that Obama?
I didn't say that. I said Dumbo. And Biden, that we had interest rates basically at 0 and inflation higher. Inflation maybe 3, 4, 5%. So we've had a long period here that has punished traditional savers. The way most people who start with nothing end up with something is they spend less than they earn.
Right.
And they put it
save money and then invest in something like a house.
In 1981, what you could do is you wouldn't have to figure out, is GE a good company or a bad company? You go to a bank that's responsibly run,
and you get interest.
And you get interest and you get your principal back. You don't have to worry about whether GE is going to go down. So it was possible to save, and let's go this way, avoid that. It was possible to save in a way that you can't now. Now, if you want to increase your wealth,
holding on to money, it's losing value.
You've got to think about investing in the stock market or something like it. And that's at a time where the stock market is below all-time highs, but it's closer to all-time highs than all-time lows. So in summary, it's a very risky period. And, we're just, when we see this, I wonder if we could do, how easy it would be to do these profound, arrogant pronouncements about inflation is transitory. Inflation's transitory. Don't worry, inflation's transitory, from Yellen and Powell and all these other people not 6 months ago. And now inflation is at the highest level it's been in 40 years.
It's getting way worse.
Exactly.
And no sign of anything to fix it.
Well, and the real hard knockers, the ones who run the sovereign wealth funds, the big bond vigilantes, the astute investors, you don't get a second chance to say with great confidence, something that proves to be absolutely wrong only 6 months later.
Janet Yellen looks real stupid on the news.
Looks.
She speaks like she's got marbles in her mouth.
Yeah, I mean,
Is she Maimonides? Didn't he do that? Who was the orator who put the
I think it could have been.
marbles in
Yeah,
his
it could have
mouth?
been. You were there?
She said, inflation, I guess I was wrong. Get this dumb lady out of here.
That's right. Hook, the hook. Yeah. So yeah, we're starting back on the excellent poster of the art department, and hats off to them again. You know what's going to happen now? It's quite late in Israel right at this moment. It's called 11 o'clock at night. I don't know if it's 7 hours difference or 8 or whatever it is.
Got to be more than that.
And by the time, I don't know when Biden is going to land in Saudi Arabia, but it is crystal clear he's not going to get the kind of reception Trump got.
No, definitely not. They won't let him touch the sphere.
Well, the sphere and the whole sword dance and all this hooting and hollering and all the horses. And there's not going to be any of that. Probably going to be a whole bunch of mules.
They'll throw shoes at him.
Throwing mule shit at him. But, or it'll be...
Look at how low that helicopter is.
It's moving pretty quick. I wonder if it'll be like George W. Bush in Iraq with the shoe treatment. Remember when he got up
That's what I'm thinking. You could tell he spent some time at the county fair. He was dodging those shoes like it was second nature.
Well, remember, George was a pretty good baseball player like his father.
Yeah.
And also had been around the Texas
Fighter
Rangers.
pilot and everything.
Well, the Texas Rangers. He was the general manager of the partnership that owned it. So, he's been around some baseball talent. And remember when he threw out that pitch after 9/11, that was like a smoking hot strike.
It was good. I mean, I'm not denying the guy has athletic ability. I'm just saying he's stupid.
Stupid athlete? I don't know many people like that.
Could happen.
But yeah.
So this is a good observation. The flags are up.
Well, that's because these people are hard at, they must be making their applications for a portion of whatever they're going to steal from the Ukraine relief package.
Right. It's amazing that they keep pressing on with that. And, Bojo was big on going to visit Zelensky. Now he's fired.
He's going to be lucky to go to the local Ukrainian restaurant in London and get a plate of chicken Kiev.
This guy's leaving a meeting where they're undoubtedly plotting the destruction of the world.
Yeah.
UNDSS. Oh, she's got the Apple Watch, much more convenient to text on duty. And she got real nervous when I said that.
And how do you spell that? D-O-O-D-Y?
Yeah.
Here's Osama bin Laden.
Oh my God. I don't know that I've seen them wearing bulletproof vests before.
This guy is looking pretty official. He could be from Bangladesh or Pakistan or something. There's a guy jaywalking. Brilliant.
Speaking of Bangladesh and Pakistan, how's the president in Sri Lanka? I hear they busted into his office.
Well, he fled to the Maldives, and apparently there are riots in the Maldives now. They're upset that he's there. The Maldives, I've never been there, but my understanding is that those are the islands that Hank Johnson thought were going to tip over.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it's
a
not
stunning display of intelligence.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure AOC is all in for the Island Foundation program.
It's a beautiful day again, Charles.
In the neighborhood.
Now, if a nuclear bomb drops, make sure you have garbage bags to put your clothing in.
That's right. They say bag and tag your clothes.
I learned yesterday that you need to make sure it's a cold shower that you're taking when it instantly temperature rises to 4,500 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
Just make sure the shower is below 90.
To conserve, you got to really be nervous about global warming.
Well, because you might have skin burns that you don't realize. The 4,000 degrees will overwhelm your senses.
Yeah.
My point is, and some people didn't get it, that video seemed to be talking about radioactive contamination that's going to be quite a bit different than a nuclear strike. The other thing that it didn't touch on is that the other day, Russia or the State Duma or somebody released some kind of information, and I saw a little video demonstration of it, about some revamped Russian nuclear submarine that has a new type of underwater drone that's the largest thing of its kind ever. And it's basically like an autonomous torpedo that comes out and goes super fast underwater, and it's nuclear, and then it would strike like the shore and create a tsunami and flood the target with radioactive tsunami. So I don't think a shower is going to help.
To parrot somebody I think I've heard of, is that bad?
It's not good. It doesn't sound good to me. I mean, you pointed out earlier before we went on about Hurricane Sandy, which I think it was about 70 degrees and there was a flood, and that shut the whole place down. If it were 4,000 degrees and there were a radioactive flood, it seems maybe worse.
Hey, there'd be nothing left.
Correct. No shower, no garbage bags for your clothes.
Yeah, and so the person who did that video is, I mean, the group that authorized the spending of money for that video should all be fired. Every single one of them.
I agree.
You know.
Now, in the
It's awfully
furtherance,
quiet here, Jason, actually, if you think about it. This is pretty freaking, man, I guess they must have all gone on vacation. Biden's out of the country, let's go on vacation.
yeah. Now, in the interest, Charles, of preserving battery power and continuing
Sure.
to do the whole Kaizen deal, I've come up with yet another idea for how we can still enjoy the excitement of on-screen graphics without reducing the duration of the show. And we'll see right now if that plan will work.
We do what, a Bruce Willis? You walk up to a perfect stranger and say, hey, give me your phone. And then we ask them.
No, we're not going to do that.
Not doing that? So what cross street was the Ukrainian consulate on, or mission? Or is it
59th, I believe.
No, it's 52nd or 40. It's definitely in the 50. You know, it's up in, what?
Well, you just did something very Ukrainian.
What's that?
Help me fix my computer. Okay, it's this. No, it's this. Okay, if you know where it is, then don't ask. Okay, I think this is going to work now.
Good.
So yeah, we had.
What?
Oh, sorry. It was just giving me a message that I thought was bad, but it wasn't. I think. Yeah, no, it wasn't bad. Okay, so here's what we got, Charles. Mayor McStupid defends the PSA, telling New Yorkers how to survive nukes. So we had an
Honestly,
article here.
The guy, I mean, how he got elected, how de Blasio got elected, and how people can go saying, you know, New York is the best city in the world, the smartest people in the world. Just look at our mayors. It's clear that this is a collection of, you know, geniuses here.
He says he doesn't think it was alarmist. I'm a big believer in better safe than sorry.
Yeah,
First thing you
that's
should do
obvious.
is get your plant-based centered life once the nuke hits.
The guy,
That's what he's saying.
he actually said that.
No, he said that he doesn't think it was alarmist. I added the part about plant-based stupidity.
He is the definition of plant-based stupidity.
He is
I bet
very
you,
dumb.
is he into micro livestock?
Was that bugs? No,
That's
he's
what they're
vegan.
calling it. You know, you couldn't get people to eat bugs, but if you call it micro livestock, it's, oh, you just mean a smaller ribeye. Yeah, a lot smaller.
It's like farm to table. This could be like, I don't know what, underneath the rock to table. So now we have some other stories here that we could talk about, Charles.
Okay.
The Uvalde mayor is now calling the media chicken. Chicken. He's resorted to juvenile insults, and he says that they're chicken for leaking the video of the cops' response to the shooting. So the cowardly response of hiding and running from the shooter while little kids are getting murdered, that's okay by this guy. But telling people about it, that's really spineless.
You got to wonder. I mean, what is this Uvalde place like? And in the companion story, actually, before we started this broadcast. Now on Wednesday in the morning, I do a taping for our friends in Norway, a document. And we were talking a little bit about this. There's a story that appeared yesterday in Sputnik that they tried to stifle around the world. And apparently, AMLO, the guy, president of Mexico,
Right.
has encouraged Americans to come to Mexico to buy gasoline because it's cheaper in Mexico than it is in America. I thought that was hilarious.
Do they have you on their webpage? This is document.no.
It's just starting, it probably is on air, or was just on air.
Oh, and also I think if people have a desktop browser, they can probably switch it to translate into English, but
They're really good guys. I mean, you met them back in 2020. But their site has progressed. They've gotten more funding. They have a lot of great talent. These are people drawn from professional journalism. You can go up there.
I think we're going to get more shade on that side.
Let's get it made in the shade. Boy, oh boy.
Wow, what's that?
I don't know. German? Is that German or what is that? That's Deutschland.
So what is
not
that? Their
foreboding.
consulate?
Do you see that story? I don't know. Mission to
Whoa,
the,
are we about to get hit? No, we haven't.
Do you see the story that in Germany they've decided it's a good idea to promote with this, the Nord Stream 1 pipeline is down. People fear that it won't come back up. So their solution is to have, they're thinking about for the winter to have communal warming places.
I did see that.
Now,
That's stupid.
well, I mean, it does, I mean, they had communal warming places that didn't work out so well in World War II.
Right. Like just walk right in here, you have
It's
a shower.
hotter. Yeah, I mean, it's just whoever came up with that idea, again, should be taken out and retired from government, sent to the glue factory.
Are we yet up to the Twitter portion of the
Sure.
show, Charles?
Sure, and
So Twitter has announced that they're suing Elon Musk to force him to complete the acquisition, and he's
won't work.
issued some funny LOL memes.
it's not going to work.
What's not going to work?
So, I mean, unless, again, this will all hinge on what was signed. And to see what was signed, you have to see not just what they choose to show you, but there
Right.
can sometimes be confidential side agreements and letters and undertakings and this and that, and I don't have the time or the interest right now to read all that stuff. But I would be shocked, not surprised, but shocked, if Musk's lawyers, should we make a left, had not drafted the document to make sure that he had some legitimate outs if they found fraud, if they found things that made it impossible to perfect the deal. Now, I don't know. Maybe they screwed up, and sometimes lawyers do pull fast ones. So there are people saying that Musk might be in trouble, that a deal is going to have to happen here. These people tend to be people who benefit if a deal happens.
Right.
If the lawyers, the kind of lawyers that I used to work with, were advising me on this type of a deal, there would be no question that I could walk.
But you spoke about this whole specific performance clause.
Well, yeah, they're arguing. The Wachtell people representing Twitter are arguing that Twitter and its shareholders bargained for the specific performance of this deal to close. That's why they signed the agreement. That's what they expected, and that Musk knowingly ceded his rights to perform due diligence. Now, I doubt that he ceded all of his rights to perform due diligence, but he may have ceded the rights to look through internal company documents pertaining to historical periods. I don't know, but that's why I say you have to look at the documents in the deal, and I just don't have the interest in looking at them right now. So the stock is trading as if the deal will come through at a greatly reduced price than 54.20. I don't know where it closed today.
Well, I'm looking for that story that you had sent me about Hindenburg, which is typically shorting things.
It's on Zero Hedge. You can find it.
I'm not seeing it there now. I'm looking for it.
Yeah, they put out a story saying that Hindenburg Group, which is a group of investment analysts who've been very savvy finding overvalued companies to bet against, to short, has flipped and gone and uncharacteristically bought a lot of Twitter shares under a theory that expecting the deal will close. Now, these are people like the guy David Faber we were talking about on CNBC, who are thoughtful people and do the kind of work that needs to get done to make an informed judgment here. I did read the Wachtell-Lipton letter, not in its entirety, but enough of it to see the thrust of their argument, and I found it, I would characterize it as a lawyer's economic argument as opposed to a really tough legal argument. They were citing all kinds of on-point precedents and statutory provisions. They were weaving a tale of buyer's remorse.
Yeah, that's what lawyers do. But doesn't that Hindenburg taking a long position, that's smart financial people doing something that seems to be not good for Musk? Right?
Well, again, we don't know what Musk's motives are, but I think the key to making a real judgment about what's going to happen here is to do the work to decide how overvalued Twitter is today versus its situation if Musk goes away. You know, is the stock a $10 stock, a $2 stock? That's interesting.
You've never seen that before, right?
That's the Biden administration.
Exactly. It's like, oh man, we need to tow this mess out of here.
The president's the front bus, and Kamala's in the back.
Flexible bus.
And Kamala's
look at that, a bus in tow.
And Kamala's in the back.
Shouldn't that sign be hanging on the tow truck?
I don't know.
Or shouldn't there be another bus behind this bus for that? That's fake news, Charles. Disinformation.
We need that Nina Jankowicz. More
Nobody
garbage,
needs
Jason.
that.
Well, the baby does. By the way, did you see the story that there somebody has been arrested for the actual rape of this?
I did not see that story. I saw the Washington Post had a story that said, and they even interviewed the Attorney General.
I know, this 2 days ago, but they've now come forward, they've got a name, they've published it. He's a 28-year-old guy with a Hispanic name.
Now, but is this a real guy, or did they say, holy cow, we need to find somebody who raped somebody?
That's right.
Because the Washington Post.
Bill Clinton, where are you?
Wow, I did not see that. I was just...
It just came across like almost a half hour before we started, an hour before we started. So, Jason, this is, you were thinking of moving to this neighborhood?
I don't think so.
Got lots of garbage piles, run-down buildings, close to the UN.
I mean, certainly the Washington Post will be following up with that story, right?
Are they a news organization or are they in bankruptcy?
Are they?
Oh, Bezos owns them.
So here, Ohio AG casts doubt on the report. Oh, this is the Washington Times.
Yeah, but that's because he came on Tucker 2 nights ago, and they had some reporting yesterday on it, but just now they have a suspect in custody. He had been raped this girl more than once.
Really?
Yeah, supposedly.
That sounds still suspicious, because why the doctor went dark, it just sounds like another one of these things where when you can mobilize this nationwide bullshit machine, the second somebody does something like that, this is like filing a forged document, ECF number 12 in Eastern District. When you know you're in trouble, you start doing things to cover up the trouble, because there's a certain amount of convincing that they need to do, and that's all that they're worried about. And now that Joe Biden's side of the story, it elevates it to a very important thing that needs to be dealt with. By the way, this is that Japanese barbecue place down by your old school. This is another branch.
It's gone, I think. Right?
Is it out? It's a pretty tasty place. It says it's hiring.
Oh, okay. Dishwasher.
It's pretty tasty.
I've been in there. Not as good as that place.
McDonald's? Uncle Vanya, tasty, delicious, or whatever they call it now in Russia?
Yeah.
Delicious only, or something like that?
Wow, I'm amazed how quiet it is.
What do you think is going on?
Well, I guess people are taking the summer off.
Well,
that used to be a Mexican restaurant.
Prime corner opportunity?
Los Caminos or something?
Oh, was it?
I think so.
I think that's further down.
Maybe. I don't know. I had a friend who was based in that building. Been there a bunch of times, but...
So in other Elon Musk news, because people are annoyed that I'm too deferential to Elon Musk, but he's targeting Hunter Biden with crack and hookers memes.
He's having fun.
Oh yeah, this I liked a lot because he's got the GoPro 3D camera on there.
And what is he doing with that?
He
Moron.
shows the what is it?
Smile, it can always be worse.
Oh man. Well, he showed a guy with GoPros taped all over his face, including 3D GoPro, and he says Hunter Biden, dealing with crack and hookers, and it's he's got video cameras all over him, is what it is. Oh my God! I wish I had the camera facing forward. Did you see the Illuminati pyramid one-eye tattoo right in that middle of that woman's breasts?
I tend not to, on camera, stare at women's breasts.
I didn't stare, it just caught my attention. Charles, this is where, what's the guy's name with the, Curtis Sliwa had his mayoral campaign right here.
The Empire Steakhouse?
Well, some sort of a press conference.
Couldn't you have picked a better steakhouse?
Oh, I don't know. I think it picked him. He has about 400 cats, according to him.
I know, that's a little bit weird. Remember, we were together with him, and I asked him the question, can you promise that you won't take any money?
And what did he say?
And remember, he was on, you were there. He said, dude, I live in a 350
Yeah, right, that was his
city.
answer about the cats.
Yeah.
And you were like, that was a bad answer.
Yeah, exactly.
The pitch did not go well, Charles.
Yeah, I'm 70 years old, and vote for me to fix up a completely fucked up city, and I've got nothing to show for my
I'll tell
life.
you what, he would have been better than Adams, because I feel like Curtis Sliwa, if he's anything, he's energetic, and I think he does want to do the
One
right
of
thing.
Curtis Sliwa's cats, if you put a specific type of
Yeah, I don't like
bell
the cats.
on the cat, and you just said if he rings the bell, the cat rings the bell an even number of times in 30 seconds, it's a yes, odd, it's a no, that cat would do better than Eric Adams. Or de Blasio.
This person wants to run us over.
It's not going to happen. Obviously lost.
All right, so now I think that this will help.
We'll head west, young man.
Yeah, I think now we're back to saving some battery. So I've taken 2 measures today that should help the show go full length. I also made a video yesterday, Charles, that I put out on the 21st Century 3D YouTube channel. It's a little bit of a technical video that might not be of too much interest to regular Crowdsource the Truth viewers. There's a lot of room for tattoos on that woman's chest.
Right.
But I made a video about a very specific issue with this sound recorder for the technical support people who make it. Maybe people will be interested to see it. People have asked me in the past to talk about some of the technology that I use to do our show. Good. So I'm now doing that a little bit.
This is the Waldorf, right? Doesn't look like it's all that ready. This thing has been under construction forever, owned by the Chinese.
Chinese, right.
What idiot would stay there other than a Chinese person? I mean, you're going to be bugged.
Oh, wow. I'll tell you what, I was in that hotel one time. Somebody I was visiting was staying there. And it's one of these things that, like, when you get into the room, you say to yourself, really?
Well, MBS's brother, Fod, was in the presidential suite. And I can tell you that's incredible.
Well, maybe that's different, but a regular room in there is not impressive.
And it used to be, or something like the presidential suite, they had there's a special tunnel that allows you to go underground a great distance into the Waldorf, which is why the presidents used to stay there.
Huh.
But why the owner sold that to the Chinese? Nice garbage though.
Well, I mean, who knows why, but somebody else was speculating, and I didn't understand this until I heard Ben Shapiro flesh it out a bit. The whole notion that this is all a ruse. I don't think this is correct, but at least it made what seemed nonsensical, caused it to make a little bit of sense. He was saying that Elon Musk liquidated something like $9 billion worth of Tesla stock, and if he wanted to do that without dramatically crushing the stock price, doing it this way and paying the billion to walk away from the deal, I don't think that's the way people like him think.
What's that phrase? The simplest explanation is
Yeah.
generally
I think he knew what was going on with the bots, and he set this up to trap Twitter because he knows they're criminals.
Well, and I think it's wider than just Twitter. It's also Facebook. It's also Google. Anybody
Yes.
using
Definitely Facebook.
arguments
Definitely
that their
YouTube.
online traffic should be monetized in a certain way, very suspicious.
Yes, I agree. So
And-
maybe we'll have a new era.
Well, and a lot of people would have exposure here. The people who took Twitter public, people who took investment banking fees when Twitter bought companies for stock, selling Twitter stock to buy
Perhaps
companies.
the head of news, government, and elections
Yeah.
might be held responsible for
Yeah.
criminality. Oh, well, we don't need to talk about that now. I'll do a separate show about that.
So we're heading west. This used to be the Helmsley Palace Hotel. Now it's the Latte. Latte, I think, is a Korean group, right?
I thought it was coffee,
A versus O.
isn't it?
Huh? L-A.
O-O-L-O.
L-O.
O-L-A?
There's
I
Joe
don't
Biden.
know.
He's been traveling.
It's the lion of the Senate. He's been lying.
That was Ted Kennedy. Now here, look at these rates. Monthly rates, $844.77.
Holy crap. But for this, it's going to be much more because this is an SUV and exotic. So this is probably $1,200 or something.
18.375 parking tax. They want you to pay $15 a day for your bike. I mean,
Wow.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a terrible deal. You know, but just quickly, Charles, to touch on some legal stuff, I won't delve into it. My case against Adam Sharp and his lawyers was dismissed by Valerie Caproni as we approach the 26th anniversary of the destruction of TWA Flight 800. I'll go into some more detail about why that happened and what the implications of it are on a show that's not your show. But I needed to tell you, and I just remembered, next week, Charles, we're going to need to do closing in kind of played by ear.
Okay.
I have a hearing
Oh, okay. Well,
in
we can skip it.
Swigert v. Goodman downtown. People may not know that George has sued me, and we've got a conference with Judge Schoenfeld, and that's at, I think, 10 in the morning, so depending
we
on
can,
when it ends, it might not affect the show.
We could do a rain check or.
No, I'd like to, if we could, play it by ear. If you don't hear from me by, say, 12 or 1, we'll consider it canceled,
Well,
if that's
whatever.
all right. We'll work it out off air, but just wanted to let people know that'll be happening next
Good. So here we're next to Sucksworth Avenue. Never liked
Hey,
that.
look. Tesla taxi. Tesla stock was up today, and as was Twitter, which I'm quite confused by the stock market. I don't know that it makes all that much sense all the time.
Well, on a moment-to-moment basis, there can be dislocations. I mean, I was had my eye on buying a certain stock that has come down a lot in value, and I got distracted and didn't go for it. And I missed out on it. You know.
And it went up, huh?
Yeah. Well, it'll eventually go back down.
This is a great view of St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Yeah, this must be the fancy side entrance or something, the celebrity entrance or whatever. I remember for many, many years this cathedral was filthy.
Well, I was going to say they've power washed it, and it really looks great.
They do that like every 20 years or something.
I've only seen it happen once, but that would make sense. I've only lived here 32 years.
The last time they did it was in the 90s.
What an attractive vehicle, Charles.
You want one?
I have one. Actually, I just got an email.
I was talking about the pink one there.
The ice cream truck?
Yeah.
I just got a letter from Ford. There's some kind of explosion under the hood recall.
Is that good?
I mean, not if you're in it when it happens. But I've got to get around to sorting that out and get the car in for the recall.
I wonder how.
Can't really drive it until
I wonder how overpriced this stuff is.
the ice cream.
Probably horrible.
I mean, look,
Now
I
this
love
is-
ice cream,
This is busy.
but the ice cream I eat is milk, eggs, sugar.
So you think? That's in the packaging.
No, you gotta none of this high fructose and hydrogenated and like anything in that ice cream is probably terrible for you. Let's get
I'd
to
say
the shade, huh?
everything in that ice cream is probably.
Yes. And I'm not saying that eating even grass-fed, sugar and ice cream and all that not good for you, but there's a way to, in my opinion, indulge in stuff like that without eating toxic, poisonous preservatives and processed chemicals and things that really our bodies can't process and make everybody fat and unhealthy,
Right.
so that they then can get in line to have monkeypox or whatever the hell they were doing there the other day.
So do you think, speaking of eating, do you think the Saudis are going to serve like sheep eye or something to
I'll tell you, when we did Daydreams of Dubai, one of the most enjoyable things about it was that the producer had set us up in this Marriott, what was it called? Marriott Al Jafar or some Al Jarat, something like that. And they had a buffet each night, which, I say buffet, and I know that somebody as fancy as you might
I'm sure it's
turn
nice.
up the nose at that, but it was excellent
No, I'm sure.
every night. I mean, I ate so much food in Dubai because it was also all paid for by the client. I mean, it was just a feast every day. It was great. The food was excellent in the Middle East, in my experience.
Yeah, it can be. But if the Saudis want to make Joe Biden uncomfortable, they can do that.
I hope they will. He's a jerk.
Yeah.
Again with the texting. Even the terrorism task force is just sitting around texting.
Watching the show.
If something happens over here, they'll see it, they'll get an alert on their phone. Oh, look at this, Charles. Your lowrider bicycle.
Oh, look at those kids.
Oh wow, yeah, that's cool. When they never had a fountain there before. That's new.
No, it is new. Is it? It's not. I don't think it's on them. I think it's just around them.
They're inside, yeah. But that's pretty funny.
Cute.
And then here's the lowrider bicycle. Whoa, watch that edge.
Nice.
Is this yours?
Yeah.
Did you make that?
Mostly came in a box set, and then this piece and this piece I got on different websites. But,
So- And what is this considered?
it's a lowrider bike.
It is a lowrider bicycle.
It's a lowrider right there, and I ride it all over, and it brings a big smile to everyone's face, so I love to bring it out,
Riding around town on your lowrider bicycle.
MC Guy Fawkes, I have
MC,
web-
say again?
MC Guy Fawkes.
How do people find you on Instagram or whatever?
So it's at MC_GUY_FAWKES. Also prolowrider.com.
And are you making these bikes for people? Is that the idea?
I could steer them in the right direction, but this is mine, and I just ride it around. I ride with a lot of guys in bike life, they do tricks
Oh,
and stuff.
man,
I can't win
but-
the tricks. But I ride, I film them, I film myself,
Okay.
Well, stay
Goodbye,
safe.
all over.
Thanks, man. Take it easy.
Take care.
So, Charles, first-hand encounter with one of the bike life hooligans.
Maniacs. So do you know who Guy Fawkes is?
Guy Fawkes is from the
Not the
Anonymous.
Not the
V
Fox.
for
News.
Vendetta.
No, Guy Fawkes was.
I could barely hear what he was saying.
Is Guy Fawkes is his Guy_Fawkes at wherever is his.
It's the Anonymous mask.
There's Guy Fawkes Day in Britain. It's when there was an assassination attempt, and Jesus,
What happened?
just that's slippery. Like Guy Fawkes, who I think paid a heavy penalty. He might have been hanged, drawn, and quartered when he was caught. But
I think that guy's talking about the Anonymous version.
But this is where I began my one. Well, I've been in here a few times, but in college, this is where I went to be on To Tell the Truth. And
But isn't this the Rainbow Room?
It was, but you go in this entry, and you can go either side, and you go to the desk, and they take you up to the very unimpressive green room and studios.
I like the Rainbow Room. I've only been in there once.
It's out. I think it's done. I mean, it might have been reconstituted. Yeah, it's been
But
out.
don't they constantly bring it back and
Yeah.
revamp?
Actually, it was pretty amazing when I did that. It was September of 1977. I think I have the ticket stub from the actual, or I have the letter where they sent me whatever they would send you.
That's pretty good.
And it was, you go and you have a rehearsal back in the day. You do it before a live audience. once,
Right.
just so you get the hang of it without.
Oh, wow.
With fake.
I'm
with
sure
fake
they don't
judges.
do that anymore.
With fake judges, and then so you know to calm the
because
nerves.
they don't know. Right.
Well, and also to calm the nerves down of people like me who've never done it before. And
Right.
when you walk in, and I was 21.
Big audience, you get nervous.
It was quite a substantial audience. I mean, I would say hundreds of people. Maybe it wasn't 1,000.
Was it in Radio City?
It was in this building, and so then we did the real show and stumped the panel. I got 3 out of the 4 votes. I was very pleased with that, and got a check for 100. We split 500 amongst the 3 of us. Since I got the most votes, I got 166.67, which in 1977 that was a fair amount of money. I mean, it wasn't gigantic money, but it was.
That's better than a
Better
poke
than-
in the eye.
Let's say a slice of pizza probably cost 50 cents back then.
Probably
You
less.
want to go down 6 and then over 7?
Pizza would have been less than 50 cents then, Charles. I remember being a kid and pizza was 50 or 75 cents. And also, I could have conceivably watched that on TV. I would have been 5.
It's possible. It was funny. I've never seen it.
What?
Yeah,
We got to get that.
I would love to.
So it's to tell the truth, and what date?
September, like the 3rd week of September 1977.
We're going to get that. Somebody's going to get
And I'll
that.
tell you, the person we were impersonating is a guy called Garth. Like Garth of
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World. Last name Ancier. He was the person, and he was very famous. What he had
Garth
is
Anchor?
Ancier, pronounced it. He went to Princeton and he had a radio show where he would ask, pre-shock jock. He was a shock jock. He would ask a college kid. He had Rumsfeld who went to Princeton, graduating many years before.
So
Garth.
did Mark Milley.
He had Rumsfeld on and he asked, when did you stop beating your wife kind of questions. And
Wow.
so he got a fair amount of publicity. And from that, he was an initial president, I want to say, of Fox. He was president of BBC. He was the president of a whole bunch of
That's
stuff.
a bad guy.
And and then he had this meltdown where I think he was something to do with a men's room and an emotional breakdown, and I don't know what he was doing, but he was the real one, and we impersonated him.
Wow. So there's a lot of cabs driving around that could experience this underhood explosion. I don't know if they're taking them for the recall, but it just came out yesterday.
Wow.
I wonder who helped them figure that out.
I don't know. This idea
Not
that, you
me,
walk,
thankfully.
that you're going to walk down 6th Avenue in this kind of a crowd, just looking at your phone, expecting the world to get out of your way.
I know, it's ridiculous. Who would do that? I'm doing it 4 times over.
No, but you're looking. You're looking.
I
ahead.
am, and I also am relying on you.
Well, then you're in trouble. You've been in trouble for a long time.
So there could have been some tattoos right there.
Yeah,
Here's
no.
somebody on your favorite electric unicycle, Charlie.
Yeah, that's a tattoo billboard. You get into the chest billboard
Yeah.
business.
I'm surprised they haven't done that yet.
Well,
I
maybe.
saw an invention the other day that I'm not surprised didn't take off. Remember the geniuses who created that, yeah, I know, Segway?
Yeah, the guy, the inventor, went
Drove off
over
the
a
cliff or whatever?
He segued off the cliff.
Well, but you remember when they came out with it, they were very secretive about it for a while, and they said, oh, this is going to change cities,
And it
and
didn't.
change, not only didn't they've discontinued it, but they had another product, which was electric roller skates. Right. And I saw that and I was like, well, now wait a minute, that's an interesting idea. But then I looked into it for just a few minutes and it turns out that they released it about 2 or 3 years ago. And the fact that we've never seen anybody using them means that the product is a failure. And obviously
good.
people have determined that it's not so good. The problem is they only last for 45 minutes.
Oh, come on, that's ridiculous.
So the electric roller skates would only be useful if you could roller skate somewhere very far and not have to use any of your own energy. But it sounds like you're going to go somewhere and in 45 minutes you're going to be carrying around a bunch of heavy roller skates.
It's crazy. Now, here's
Or
this
break your ankle.
poor guy standing here right on Fox Corner. I mean, let's go down 47th Street and then down 7th. But
All right.
give people a taste of Times Square.
It's really a nice day.
It's a nice day to be somewhere other than New York.
Yeah, that's true. And a
gotta
lot of
get-
people want us to leave, but
Yeah. I definitely would like to go traveling. But there's all this talk now of,
relocking down.
all right, let's just step to the side for a second.
There's all this talk now of relocking down and flights getting canceled. An airport is the last place I want to go right now.
Exactly. I think,
Take it off the sidewalk. Guy's a jackass.
hey, the garbage truck, you think it's going to pick up any garbage? Or would that be too
No.
complicated?
Charles, did you see this news that LeBron
Let's go
James
this way.
made some kind of comment about how the United States doesn't have... Here's a segue right now. That's
Speaking of segues.
pretty coincidental.
No, you planned that. How
Right.
much did you pay that guy?
I must be working for the CIA
Yeah.
and the Mossad
You're not? That's
and the Segway company.
That's the only reason I did the show. That's what I was told.
But LeBron James made some kind of comment about how the United States doesn't have Brittany Griner's back. That is such an ignorant comment.
He pulled it back. He actually said...
Okay,
what he said-
but the point
No,
is,
it's
you
worse than that.
can't go overseas and break the law and expect the government to make an international incident out of your stupidity.
No, but he said was far worse. He said if he were Brittany Griner, he wouldn't want to come back
Right.
to America. I mean, and here's a guy who started with nothing and he's a billionaire because he can play basketball. Admittedly, he's a superstar.
Is he a billionaire?
Billionaire. If America is so fucking awful,
Why did you leave?
How many people in the UK are billionaires off of basketball?
Exactly.
Or put a finer point on it. How many people in Africa are billionaires off of basketball?
I'm thinking it's zero.
Yeah.
I don't really care for basketball or LeBron James.
I actually like basketball at the championship level. I don't like watching everyday games because there's always trash talking. But when it gets to the final two, or even the semifinals, or whatever you call them, it can be. Michael Jordan in his prime was amazing to watch.
I agree with that. And I liked seeing highlights of him doing superhuman things. I'm impressed by tremendous skill in any area, but I don't necessarily want commentary from... It's like, George Bush is extremely good at dodging shoes, not so good being the president.
And not so good on the whole weapons of mass destruction front or keeping the economy alive
It's just bad.
front.
LeBron James, stick to bouncing balls.
Exactly. He wasn't even so good at that last season, right? Didn't the Lakers get? Is he on the
no-
Lakers now, or what did?
I have no idea. Yeah, he's definitely Lakers. Everybody in LA was constantly talking about it. And he's got the Boulay tattoo on his chest. I don't trust that guy at all.
That's a friend of mine, actually. Who? That's a friend of mine. He worked at Ortel.
Why didn't you say something to him?
You could see we were on here.
But then we could have said, hey,
No, I just
what's going on with that whole Twitter deal?
No, he doesn't work there now.
Oh, it's like, hey, bust out the phone. Let's call some of your old Wachtell Lipton people and figure out what's
He's actually
what
a
with
very
Twitter.
nice guy.
Did he look at you and acknowledge you?
Yeah. I do too.
Secret nod?
Well, no, I mean he was in the midst of a conversation. He could see that we were doing something.
I'm just razzing you, Charles.
That's okay.
So here we are, once again,
Should we go? Let's cross
Yeah.
it down. Yeah.
into the fray.
He was a law school classmate of one of my child's godparents, and Yale classmate, and I've known him since 1979.
That was Carter.
Sorry, yeah. He's a very smart guy who started out as just a lawyer, and then he became an advisor to various rich families. And
So I've just gotten the low battery warning. I've taken
So-
yet another
Kaizen
step to reduce battery usage. Hopefully, the best thing that will happen is if these Swedish guys who run Teenage Engineering get my video and make a firmware update, that'll solve all the problems. Now, Charles, we have some sort of a forest here. What do you make of this?
I don't know what this is. The sidewalk?
It's an object d'art. I think I'm about to get accosted by a guy. He doesn't seem to realize he's being ignored. Now he figured it out.
Can I
Organic
interrupt your...
gin
Yeah. Produced in Times Square. What could go wrong with
in
that?
the toilet.
Somebody sell this girl only a portion of her shirt?
Oh, I missed it.
It's a 50% off sale. We're going to give you 50% of a shirt. See if your parents will let you wear it.
Now we seem to have some kind of maybe a concert or something. What's going on there?
Con artist.
Con artist concert. So this hearing next week, Charles, it's open to the public.
Is that George Floyd?
What is this guy?
I slightly underdressed.
I mean,
Let's stay pretty far away from him.
that's just a... He's going
He
to
should be
ballet
arrested.
practice, Charles.
No, you should be arrested. Yeah, we can't. One little girl right here.
It's really ridiculous. So I guess they're setting up
The
some...
cops right there.
Well, but they're texting, so what can they do? I mean,
Sorry.
you don't really want them to do something, do you? He's getting this girl's number while his partner is texting. Good work. Total dopes.
Yeah, this is the acrobats. They jump over each other.
Capoeira, I think they're doing.
Huh?
It's Brazilian jiu-jitsu. That's kind of like dancing. Or something. It's some kind of Brazilian
I think
martial
it's
art.
pickpocket central.
Well, maybe. Pretty crowded today.
Very crowded. There's
For
your
a weekday.
naked cowboy.
Is he there?
Yeah, he's always there. Nice blast of...
We have the naked something. I don't see him.
See that hat.
Oh yeah, there he is.
Nice stink off that cart.
Yeah, no, not very good. So what happened with what's his name? Who Peter Sachs or whatever his name is?
Jeffrey Sachs?
Yeah, with the Lancet article about
Well,
leaky.
what? See, I think what's going on is we have competing camps in the Democrats who have figured out that Joe Biden must leave and are trying to get him out, and they're trying to sneak themselves in without going through a real vetting process. Guys, standing next to cops, he's a well-dressed guy, has a sign saying, "Help, no money for plane ticket home," standing next to two cops.
Wow.
Hope he's not a graduate of Harvard
He doesn't have a
Business
credit
School.
card?
It's probably total bullshit. Probably.
Right. Like there was a point in time where that lie would have worked.
Oh, it's going to work. I mean, you'll get some sucker.
Wow, look at the resolution of that thing. Doesn't that almost look 3D?
It does.
It's
in Arabic,
It won't
though.
convey on the broadcast, but that is impressively. Oh my God! Look at that.
What?
Tim Cast advertising on a billboard right
Who's
there.
Tim Cast?
It's Tim Pool.
Okay, same question.
I mean, he's a podcaster, but I didn't realize he was on a billboard there. He's a guy who also ran counter stories and was like, used my little segment of Dershowitz without mentioning me or responding to my emails or super chats about it.
There's a movie, Kung Fu Panda. We could call it Kung Fu Panderer. But
That's good. That's a good point. That lady just
like hippo crossing.
yeah.
I'm big
We're getting crowded out right here, Charles, by a lot of people.
And I'm going to go into your shop.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like people just totally like, where the hell are they trying to go? That's the only problem I have with Times Square is that every idiot in it is not from New York, and they're just like crowding the place out and bumping into people.
That's a good look over here. Good, in front of Taco Bell. How many bums? You got a fake Chinese monk. And look, there's 3 bums here. Fuck COVID-19.
Wow.
How can the manager?
This guy's going to get stepped on.
He's lucky. But
He dropped the chalupa.
Exactly. How can Joe Biden let that happen?
Too busy in Saudi.
This is a lot this year.
Yep. So I realized there's one other thing that I forgot to do that would have helped manage battery power. I had the brightness turned up too high. That really takes battery.
This is super crowded.
Yep.
All these cops.
Well, it's going to really tax the cellular network with all these cops around, texting people and whatnot.
Look at them everywhere. They must be anticipating some kind of.
Maybe they watched the Eric Adams public service announcement and they're getting ready to take showers.
They should do some fake public service announcements, which of course have to have the signer. And if you know, one thing I've noticed on Fox, whatever the language is, whether it's Ukrainian, Russian, Turkish, you name it, they have the same translator who speaks in this strange voice. You know, it's a very heavy Arabic accented voice. Man.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Remember who was the fellow who died in South Africa? Mandela at his funeral? Remember what happened then?
Nelson Mandela?
I think it was Nelson Mandela. Obama was there, and he got caught checking out the ass of some Brazilian woman or something. And
I don't remember that.
yeah, and it turned out early on they had, I forget what year it was, but they had a signer standing right next to, very close to where Obama was sitting, and people who understand signing were saying this guy's not signing. He's just waving his hands around.
Oh,
like a
sign language interpreter, you mean?
Right. And it turned out he was a criminal. It was just, he
my
had
God.
no experience, but he's
And
at the funeral.
nobody bothered to complain.
Well, it's South Africa. I mean, they're not known for their close
Oh my
vetting
God,
of
he's
things.
doing fake sign language.
But right next to Obama.
That's just crazy. But typical, right? I mean, everything they do is fake.
Oh,
These guys have electric skateboards.
up to no good.
And then we got more people broadcasting music. Now we're about to run the gauntlet of weed here, Charles.
Yeah. It's a pity this is another cartoon thing. They call him Bark Kent.
Well, that's actually the first kind of clever idea I've heard about in a while. They're making a movie about the pets of superheroes.
Yeah.
Super Pets, it's called, I guess. And it's Superman's dog.
DC League of Super
It's kind of a
Pets.
funny idea.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty starved for ideas, Charles. Whoa,
This team is relaxed.
look at this.
Logical place to take a nap. What could go wrong here?
Man, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good idea.
No.
Oh, look, Weed World is getting a FedEx delivery.
Watch out for this guy. This guy just doing the walking across the street, not checking. Pants down below his butt.
Oh, this guy.
Where's the majesty in that? You're walking down the street with your pants below your butt.
I don't know.
I mean, what is that? How's that cool?
I don't know, but that's a well-established. I don't know why they do that. That's been around for so long now that I forget where it was, but I was in one particular store where they had a whole section of jeans which had like underwear attached to the top of it. So it was like a pre-made set of pants with the underwear hanging down.
Wow.
Now, did you notice
They weren't very interested in having their pictures taken.
Well, it's a gang. It's a criminal gang.
Yeah.
And the cops are doing nothing.
They get their cut, probably. Somebody does.
Something's happening because it would be very easy to go over there and be like, you guys are not allowed to sell weed. Go home.
Yeah.
And yet they're not doing that.
I don't know.
Wow. What's that Prince album, Revolution?
Don't know.
I forget
This
the
is a
name.
lot busier than I remember.
What's the name of that Prince album? First pressing. What's the name of the Prince album again? Yeah. Sign of the Times, right. Great album, Charles.
Sign of the times, Jason.
The sign of the times. That's what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, that same guy with the blue shirt and the black bandana and the pants below his butt, he was at the other,
Wow, look at how young this kid is hanging out with these hoodlums.
probably a spotter.
My God. So here's Smoking World competing with Weed World.
Here's the concierge.
Charles, this has become a really rough part of town. Oh, look, a new Weed World vehicle.
And this, mind
They're
you,
moving up.
This is during daylight hours. I mean, you can imagine what this is
I'm
like
not coming around here at night.
at 9 o'clock or 11 or 1.
No, definitely. No. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the things that I've done have substantially increased the runtime. I just got the second battery warning.
All right, well, we can stop whenever you
No,
like.
we can still keep going. We'll keep it going for a little while longer, but we're learning.
Are there some other stories that you'd put aside there?
Well, I've turned that feature off because I just turned it on for a limited time to see if it would have any impact on battery power. Good news is it doesn't seem to have really affected it, so we can go back to using that full time. I got to try it with lower screen brightness. But what would be great would be if these Swedish guys see the video, understand what I'm asking about, and modify their firmware to make it spit out power out of that
That'd
cable.
be good.
Well, what else would you like to discuss, Charles? We've got, let's see if the comments have any comments for us. Someone says January 6th is stupid. I like it. Oh, that was from before. Someone says they are allowed to sell. They're not.
Who's allowed to sell?
I guess they're talking about the weed, but you know, they've announced that weed is going to become legal, but it is not yet. These people on the street are selling weed illegally. Somebody is asking what happened to one of the former co-hosts. He stole my property and lied to me. That's what happened to him. Yes, Prague knows what happened.
So we're coming to Penn Station, one of your favorites. I know you
Yeah.
always like to travel through Penn Station.
It's a good place to go if you want to slip on feces. We're seeing a lot of this Citizens. Is that a bank?
Yeah,
So I don't know, was that around before? It seems like
yeah, it's been around.
it's growing or something.
In this neighborhood, there seem to be quite a few branches.
Yeah.
Odd, because one wonders how many illegal aliens there are in this neighborhood.
Now, Charles, we're going to have a very special guest. I don't know if we want to reveal it
We
yet
don't.
because sometimes they can cancel, but Sunday will be a great show. People should definitely watch.
Oh yeah, I'd like to mention the Substack thing. Like the,
All right.
So I've been trying, there's such a massive public record. People who've been watching our show from the beginning in June of 2017 know that there's over 1,000 hours of content, much of it on charity fraud, but we've drifted into other areas. And that only really scratches the surface of what I've covered in other reports and print and other interviews. And so I've been struggling with the best way of releasing an organized explanation, you know, in sort of chronological order of explaining the context, explaining the dimensions of the problem, and then citing case examples. What's the best way to do that? And in my experience on GE and with this and other complex things, when you get the attention of somebody, they always want you to make your point in 60 seconds.
Right. Send me something short.
And so you do that, and they say, well,
There's nothing
where's
here.
the evidence?
Right.
You know, and so you're in this crazy place where I think we've done it the right way to explain a lot of it orally and visually. So we now, I think, have convinced the mass of public opinion that the Clinton Foundation and many other charities are frauds. It's going to be, the Clintons will say this is old news.
Right.
It now falls, I think, to me in particular, because I'm the one who can do the finance and accounting stuff, to lay the massive information out in some short summaries, which will be free, and then much more detailed evidence supporting the arguments, which will not be free. And I'm going to do that via Substack. And the way Substack works is typically the authors ask for their name, which I've gotten, charlesortel.substack.com, and then Substack helps you set up a website and curate a mailing list, and also helps transition you from being a free-only service to being free and then paid.
Right.
So I'm up
yeah.
there in the process of getting people signed up for free subscriptions. I'm going to begin putting content on the free subscription site.
Unbelievable, Charles. Look at this.
Nothing sketchy about that. So I'm going to begin the process
yes.
of putting free content on the site probably later this month, early in August, and gear up to be releasing these very detailed exhibits on a paid basis again on this site. And I put the actual address up on my Twitter handle. I appreciate that people have already signed up. It's very helpful to get a nice mailing list together, and then we'll see what percentage of the people who take the free content are willing to transfer and become paid subscribers. And I think so there's an opportunity really just to help educate people and do more than just educate them. With the information I'll put up there, folks in different US states and different countries can use this information to incite the standard processes that exist in the various countries and states and localities, where you can go be a whistleblower off this information. You can
that's a
add
great
to it,
idea.
and because the only way we're going to stop this is by making an example of
His shoes untied.
The Citizens Home Equity line of credit.
that we can't let the Clinton example stand unpunished, because so long as it's out there and nobody does anything about it,
It's just going to get worse.
people are going to say, well, if Bill can steal
Right.
$2 billion, I'll steal $20 billion. You know, and
The other thing that's great about this, Charles, is that if someone's a journalist and they become a subscriber on your Substack, they're going to have a ton of evidence to write articles about.
right, and books and case studies, and really, it's going to be one of these things where, in hindsight, people are going to say, how did we not see this? And why did we not do anything about it? And what should we learn from the fact that we allowed this stuff to flourish? Let's go this way quickly. You see that guy?
Did not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, now I do. With the furniture blanket?
Right. So I appreciate those people who've already signed up, and if you like this concept, tell your friends about it. And again, you'll learn something on the free site, but I'm not going to be giving away valuable, detailed analysis running to many hundreds of pages for nothing. That I don't feel is right. So, and I haven't worked out the precise legal details of exactly what entity is going to be doing it and where I'm going to register it and all that. So I've got to work on that. But my basic thinking is that on the free site, you get enough to see the broad outlines of the picture. But on the paid site, when I come up with something new, you're going to be the first to see it on the paid site. And so long as you're paying, you can access all the stuff on the paid site, so the historical stuff. But there'll be a delay before the information that's on the paid site ends up in the public domain.
I think people are going to enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah. And in time, we've got a lot of material already. to go through. We don't need to pick on a new charity to razz, although one came to my attention in the last 24 hours, and that's La Raza. We should be razzing La Raza. La Raza.
That's a charity? I just thought it was a...
It's a, I don't know if it's a C4 or a C3, but it's a supposedly looking out for the interests of Hispanics in America, but some argue that it's basically tacos, according to Joe Biden.
The Taco Bell Foundation.
Exactly. Chipotle Foundation, I believe. Or she pronounced it shit-potely, probably. It's up to her.
Yeah, well, that's, if you're from Catalan.
Yeah. But anyway, that's a charity that I think we really need to look into carefully to see just how politically active it's been, and if it's supporting or opposing specific candidates or pieces of legislation. I don't know that qualifies as a legitimate charity. Also, Hillary's 501c4 Onward Together is another one that I think deserves focus, as does the various Bush foundations. Certainly the Biden Foundation.
What about Obama for America or Organizing for Action or any of these things that they've just handed off this Twitter account to that's the most valuable Twitter account in the world?
Right.
No accounting for that value.
Or the Barack and Michelle Obama Foundation, or the Obama Foundation, which... So what happens
when they give it like that? Don't they have to record?
I don't know. We'll have to see about that. So there's a lot to do, and there are a lot of world leaders and former world leaders who've emulated the Clintons. So there's a lot of
emulated the Clintons.
Emulated.
That's what you're doing.
That's what we will be doing. I hope. And so it's not this. You can just read if you want and do nothing about it. But the most valuable thing, beyond supporting the paid site when it comes time to do that, will be sharing this material and sharing the activity. And in that regard, the folks at document.no have done a very good job of exposing corruption in Scandinavia, and specifically exposing that the Scandinavian business model sucks and has destroyed the standard of living for the average Scandinavian resident. They've done a lot of good work.
Don't worry about it. It's
and they've had me. I do now a show with them, short thing on Wednesdays. They were kind enough to change when that show went out today.
That's great.
So that the end of that show fed right into the beginning of this one.
That's great.
I'd encourage people who want a more sensible view of what's going on in Scandinavia, do follow the folks on Document who are not covering just Norway, but now also Sweden and Denmark and Finland.
But also what's happening there has become more important to what's happening here, given the conflict in Ukraine and the interconnected nature of everything these days. But they were very good to us, and that's nice that they would move the whole show to accommodate the schedule. I really appreciate that.
Right, and they're good people, and so and I think around the world, a lot of media, particularly in Norway, most media is paid for by the government. So the government has the ability to make sure that their media
what they want.
Does not cover topics that might embarrass them. And so the Document folks really went out on a limb putting their thing together, and it's attracting a lot of notice in Scandinavia and now more broadly around the world. Other countries and regions are following the same approach. Veteran journalists are saying, we don't need no stinking BBC. It's not going to tell the truth. We could do what Jason is doing, maybe with some help. And I think we're going to start to see more and more people cross-pollinate. I've also been doing different interviews in Iran, of all places. There are people who are not happy with the Iranian government, so they've had me on. Let's go over here for a second. They've had me on Tehran Times. I was just interviewed there, and basically different people, non-Iranians, were commenting on the January 6th thing. And I took the position that it's a contemptible show trial. And other people said, no, it's valuable, it's hurting Trump, this is good. This guy's quiet. I mean,
it's quite a day.
There really should be, for the protection of that guy and for people who live in the city, there should be a strict prohibition against that. You cannot do that. You lie
Yes,
down.
there should be somebody driving around with an ambulance collecting people who are unconscious on the street and giving them medical attention.
Right, and put them in treatment and just say, listen, you just can't do this.
Yes, if you can't control yourself to remain conscious on the street of New York, you're going into a hospital for your own safety. And you
Right.
can't complain about it. I agree with that policy.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, we've extended the time a bit,
All right.
and that is good. We're almost back to 2 full hours. I really appreciate people who watch the show, and even more so people who support the show by becoming sponsors on subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth and patreon.com